Salute the truth from the prophet. Say, I got loyalty, got royalty inside
This is
my
why
DNA.
I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years.
I live about my DNA. This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting. Money and power, the Mecca emeritus. Tell me something, you motherfuckers can't tell me nothing. I'd rather die than to listen to you. My DNA not for imitation, your DNA an abomination. This how it is when you in the matrix, dodging bullets, reaping what you're sowing, stacking up the footage, living on the go and sleeping in the villa, sipping from a Grammy, walking in the building, diamond in the ceiling, marble on the floors, beaches out the window, peeking out the window, baby in the pool, Godfather goes, only Lord knows. I've been going hammer, dodging paparazzi, freaking through the cameras, eating 4 daughters, Brock wearing sandals, yoga on a Monday, stretching to November, watching all the snakes, curving all the fakes, phone never own, I don't conversate, I don't compromise, I just penetrate, sex, money, murder, these are the breaks, these are the times, level number 9, look up in the sky, tennis on the way, sinners on the way, Kenneth on the way, motherfucker, I got winners on the way, you ain't shit without a buddy on your belt, you ain't shit without a ticket on your plate, you ain't sick enough to put it on yourself, you ain't rich enough to hit the ladder skate, tell me when destruction gonna be my fate, gonna be a fate, gonna be a fate, peace to the world, let it rotate, sex, money, murder, our DNA.
Miss Lawson?
Our power was cut off on February 11th, 2013, and we have not had power in 7 weeks. And because they installed that radio frequency meter on our property, my sisters had fevers of over, excuse me, over 102 Fahrenheit, and they kept on going up. This is not normal. This should not be tolerated.
Okay, I want a high-level person from DWP to connect with this family, find out exactly what's going on, and let's fix it immediately.
Unfortunately, when I complained about the smart meter put on our property, I was told there was no smart meter on our property. It's a radio frequency meter. When I began to express to LWP the health concerns that came out of nowhere, they told me that I was making it up. It didn't make any sense. My husband and I had numerous people come to our house and explain to us that it must be something else in your home. So I began writing to the general manager, Mr. Nichols. He ignored my emails. So for months and months and months, I have begged DWP to please take this off of our property. And we have had no power for 7 weeks and 1 day. Easter for our children was horrible.
Okay, thank you. We'll get to the bottom of that today. I want somebody on the phone right now. Is anybody here from DWP?
Looks like Tom's on the phone right now.
And Mr. Buscaino, I'm on this, so I will, one way or the other, find out what's going on with the Lawson family. I'll find out today.
The definition of a smart grid is a wireless system that will fundamentally turn every single appliance in your home into the equivalent of a transmitting cell phone. That's every computer, every television, every furnace, every air conditioner, every coffee machine, every printer, every single appliance that you have in your house will eventually, in a smart grid, have an antenna that's embedded into it that will transmit your usage data to a smart meter on the outside of your home that will then transmit your usage data to another tower receiving that usage signal that will then go to the utility company for supposedly billing purposes. Not all signals will just be about your individual use. There will be aggregate meters that will bounce signal from house to house to house within a neighborhood that will then accumulate all of the usage data that will transmit that to the utility company. Now, what that will do is that the end metering system that is transmitting all of that data will be firing an RF signal at many, many times a second, which will increase the average homeowner's radio frequency radiation exposure exponentially.
This picture shows some aphids on the leaf of an orange tree shortly after radar equipment was installed at a nearby airport a number of years ago. I noticed that every few seconds, all the aphids would tense up in unison and do sort of a little dance, as you see in the picture. Upon further investigation, I found that the interval of time between the activity of each dance coincided exactly with the rotation of the radar rotor device at the airport, which was a distance of approximately 14 miles.
Data we're going to look at are all published science, testing results, or public standards. At the bottom end of the radiation scale of what's called power density, or signal strength, is the minimum level at which cell phones will work, which was found to be 0.2 billionths of a microwatt per centimeter squared. Pine needles were found to age prematurely at 0.000027. At short-term exposures of 0.05, children aged 8 to 17 experienced headache, irritation, concentration difficulties, and behavioral problems. 0.1 is the biobiology or building biology guideline for extreme concern. 1.0 produced sperm DNA fragmentation and a decrease in sperm viability in vitro. Also at 1.0, the science shows the following bodily effects can occur: headaches, dizziness, fatigue, insomnia, chest pain, difficulty breathing, and indigestion. 2.5 saw altered calcium metabolism in heart muscle cells. 4.0, changes in the hippocampus affecting brain memory and learning. And at 6.0, DNA damage in cells. So, where are smart meters on this list? Electrical Power Institute in December 2010 measured a single Itron smart meter with pulses up to 7.93 microwatts per centimeter squared. Our own testing indicated approximately 8.0 with 1 meter. These tests are at a close distance, approximately 1 foot away from the meter, but an infant's crib could be just as close on the other side of the wall where the meter or bank of meters are installed. Even though there are all these known health effects at levels far lower, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Luxembourg see fit to set the standard at 9.5. And China, Poland, and Russia, 10.0. This is the same level at which behavior has been altered, producing reflexes of avoidance following 30-minute exposures. A room of 12 smart meters, very common and even a conservative number in an apartment building, tested at 19.8 microwatts per centimeter squared. This is hundreds of times higher than levels which clearly indicate harmful effects. So how can utilities and governments get away with forcing these devices on everyone? This is how. In Canada and the US and several other civilized countries, the safety limit is set at 600 to 1,000 microwatts per centimeter squared. This so-called safety limit is literally tens of thousands of times higher than levels which are known to damage health, according to peer-reviewed published science.
So in our first slides, what we see is normal cells, and the structure of the cells is intact and sound. This is what we would expect from a normal sample. With the subject standing 1 foot in front of the analog meter, there were no significant changes to these blood samples in any of the 3 that we tested. In our second set of tests, we're using the smart meter. Before the exposure, we see the same thing as we saw in the first samples. Normal cell walls, fairly separated and looking healthy. So after 2 minutes of exposure in front of the smart meter at about 1 foot away, we see a totally different story. Sample 1, you can see a lot of degradation in the cells. The cell walls have been broken, and you see changes in the cells which are called mycoplasma. It shows a mutation to the cell. In the second sample, we see a different type of degradation to the cell membranes. You can see a corrugation here. This is called bottle cap formation, and it's known that this occurs due to oxidation or exposure to free radicals. So this third subject, when we did her sample, she had to be pulled away from the meter after 45 seconds because she complained about an increasingly severe headache. And here you see a phenomenon called rouleau, where the red blood cells are stacking up, which makes it very difficult for the blood to deliver oxygen to the tissues as they would be their normal function. Every single one of these is a degradation. Every single one of these shows a trauma to the blood cells, and that came from something, and the only variable was the smart meter. The good news in all this is the patient and the blood can return to normal once they have been removed from the influences of these stressors.
So this thing about electrosensitive, 3 or 5% of people are affected and everyone else is okay, I mean, what do you have to say about that?
There are changes whether they feel them or not. Maybe they're not out there complaining about it or trying to make other people aware of what it's doing to them, yet they're still being affected by it.
We know that you have refused a smart meter.
Okay.
The meter that will be installed onto your premises here will not be functioning as a smart meter because there are no receivers established. You get what everyone is calling a smart meter, none of which are smart meters yet. Because
You will guarantee me that we will not have it functioning as a smart meter.
Because you're opt-out.
Because we're opt-out.
Yes. Yes, I guarantee.
You will guarantee me that.
And if you want, I will get BC Hydro, I will get Gary to write you a letter to that extent, and he'll send it registered mail.
So, Chris, are they going to be running this as a smart meter or just as a regular meter?
They're going to be running this as a regular digital meter, such as has been put on houses since 2008.
So Chris has the meter on now, and he's going to test the meter.
Yeah. Okay, they're lying, folks. This is emitting.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they're lying.
Getting a reading on your...
Sorry. Yeah, okay, that's over 20,000 microwatts, and the hydro has officially lied, publicly lied in front of all these people, lied to the owners of this house, to the effect that this would not be emitting radio frequency radiation. It's emitting radio frequency radiation in spades.
I feel like
They have lied. Yeah, you have lied. You son of a bitch. You have lied.
That
you
is
and your buddy.
really, really bad. I'm so upset.
Yeah.
I'm so upset. You've lied to us. You've lied to us. You said that there's not going to be any radiation coming off that, so you're lying to us.
I have no idea of the testing mechanism of this. I have no idea who you are.
You know, how do you think I feel right now? I trusted you, and that's how I honestly feel. I feel like I've been raped.
With this smart meter program, we're stepping across the line from democracy to corporatocracy, and that's scary. The person who invented the word corporatism was Benito Mussolini. It's also known as fascism, and everybody uses that term a little too loosely, but in this case it applies very, very succinctly. If you don't have the right to a healthy environment, you have basically lost all rights. People who haven't the faintest idea that they had a smart meter installed are getting very sick all of a sudden and wondering why. And suddenly it comes to them that, oh, something's different about my electricity meter.
I'm a beekeeper, or I was a beekeeper. For over 10 years, I had 2 hives on my side porch outside of the rain. About a year ago or so, I had a smart meter installed outside of my knowledge with all the EMF. This winter, I've lost all my bees. I don't know if it's because of colony collapse disorder, or I don't know if it's because of the EMFs from the smart meter. But it is suspicious.
Despite overwhelming evidence of biological harm from this type of electromagnetic radiation, the utility industry has assumed the safety of smart meters without doing any testing. For the past 29 years, Dr. Deacon Lee has conducted original research and epidemiology for Kaiser Permanente in Oakland, California.
I'm not aware of any safety studies has been done to examine the safety of a smart meter. To me, a manufacturer wants to give a product to consumer, especially in this case to everybody, imposed on everybody. They are the ones who should carry the burden to prove it is safe before they can give to other people. It's not up to consumer to demonstrate they are unsafe.
It's a technology done by private companies, these electric companies, private companies that have the right to install this on your house, destroy your health, and there's no accountability at all.
While industry has failed to do any peer-reviewed studies on smart meters and health effects, a growing body of independent research is now starting to accumulate.
It is our experience as physicians that everybody is equally electrosensitive. If you install this thing, measurably certain things in your health go down. You know, we're tracking now certain sensitive parameters of it. One is an inflammatory marker called TGF-beta-1, goes way up as soon as the smart meter is installed.
The radio frequency radiation work that we did was supported by Motorola. The relationship was really very cordial and very stress-free, but only up until we started generating data. These folks were very upset and began to talk about how are they going to handle this, what sort of spin can we put on this, what can we expect from this, And from that point on, the relationship changed. What we saw was that Motorola began to exert more and more control over the work, telling us what to do, telling us how to write abstracts, what to say in the abstracts, what to say in the papers, how to do the work. No, don't do this. Yes, do it this way. This was unacceptable. I had completed our study of DNA damage, and I submitted the final report to Motorola. The point is, I kept getting nothing from these people. They simply weren't willing to accept my interpretation of my study, my evaluation of my study, my knowledge of science at that point, and tried to urge me not to publish the study. They didn't tell me not to. They just said, no, this isn't ready for publication. And they wanted me to do more work. I think one has to exercise caution at this point. And what makes the cellular telephone research area so difficult right now is there is no money available for research other than that's coming from industry. So, I mean, what does this do? I don't have any faith in what comes out. I have absolutely none, not with my dealings with industry so far.
EMF and RF, what are they? It can be confusing. Let me break it down real quick. The term electromagnetic field, EMF, that actually comprises quite different frequency ranges that differ considerably both with regard to physical and biological aspects. And there's different kinds of EMF. There is SMF, which is static magnetic frequency. There is SEF, which is static electric fields. There is extremely low frequency, ELF. There's intermediate frequency, IF. There is electric frequency, and that's EF. And then there's MF, which is magnetic frequency. RF is radio frequency. So interestingly enough, in the ELF range, extremely low frequency range, if strong enough, EF, electrical frequency, and magnetic frequency, MF, are able to stimulate nerve and muscle cells, while in the RF range, energy absorption is heating and is responsible for potential bioeffects, which is what I want to go over real quick here. So basically, to sum it up, within the EMF zone, there are all these different types of frequencies. The RF frequency is the one that is causing the heating damage, which actually burns the glucose out of your brain and causes so many other bad things because it's literally heating you. So basically, elevated EMF fields are often caused from wiring problems or bad grounding. Radio frequency or high frequency electromagnetic radiation is due to wireless equipment and devices for data transmission. So just to get into details, RF radiation is a form of electromagnetic energy with frequencies that range from a few kilohertz up into the gigahertz range. There are many sources of RF energy in the environment. The well-known RF heating effect has led to the development of microwave ovens in the home and use of microwaves for other heating applications. Now real quick, if you look below at the graph, you'll see non-ionizing radiation with ionizing radiation, being nuclear bombs, X-rays, and ultraviolet light. Now let me just tell you how this works. So 1 hertz is 1 pulse per 1 second. And then if you move up to 1,000 hertz, 1,000 hertz is 1,000 pulses per second. Now, as you all know, we're made out of small vibrations of frequency waves. We all know this. So the reason why nuclear bombs radiation is so destructive is because the frequency, the amount that it's pulsating back and forth is so destructive that you see basically destruction right away. Now, they claim that non-ionizing radiation, which is 5G, soon to be 6G, 4G, 3G, 2G, your cell phone, your Wi-Fi, your microwave, they claim that non-ionizing radiation doesn't hurt you at all. Now, anything that's not nature, okay, which is these pulses of energy are not nature at all. It's destroying our equilibrium. It's destroying our balance. Number one, there's this whole PDF right here is probably over 20 studies of proof of these scientists proving that non-ionizing radiation is absolutely dangerous. I'm going to get into that in a second. But I'm just saying, look at this graph. You're going to tell me that the damage just stops after ultraviolet light. That there's no way. And the second thing I want you to look at is the 5G spectrum right there. It's 3.4 to 3.8 gigahertz. Now, if you look to your right, you'll see possible future 5G airwaves, 26, 40, up to 66 gigahertz. So this is from a military PDF, and that's how they mislead you. They say, oh, hey, 5G's here, but potential future 5G waves are here. And that absolutely is weaponizing radiation. You will feel that directly on your skin. Now, the way it works is the lower frequencies on this scale affect you internally. And the higher you go up, the more it affects you externally. Monkeypox. Now, this paper you're looking at that I put together, it looks intimidating. It's about 33 pages, but I promise you it's mostly graphs. And it's a 15 to 20 minute read, and it will change your life, absolutely change your life. This is 20 peer-reviewed studies. I'm summing them up, sometimes quoting them. It's a real quick read, gets to the point. Let me just give you the highlights of these studies and the damages. So first of all, free radicals. What the hell are those? We've always heard of this. I've never known what it is until I got into this research. Now I understand. A free radical is a clump of cells or a clump of atoms that are inside your body, okay? That's a free radical. Now, what is cancer? Cancer is a clump of cells, okay? So free radicals are very, very closely related to cancer, if not cancer. So, moving on to ROS free radical, that's reactive oxygen species free radical. That's a free radical that's created by this RF radiation. This specific set of free radicals actually eats the oxygen out of your blood. You literally can suffocate and drop dead if you have too many of these accumulating in your body. And another curious study is 5G and induction of coronavirus in skin cells. Absolutely amazing study, and that goes right to this and tells you 5G absolutely is RF radiation. All of this is RF radiation. Their first radio transmission, that's when all this began. Breaking it down. How can you hear voices or have different mental conditions from this? When we think, we have neurons that are traveling through neurotransmitters. That's how the messages are sent through our brain, okay? And those are on calcium channels. When the RF hits us, the calcium channels have to react to block back that RF. And each time the RF hits it, the calcium channel blocks it. So what this is it's making the calcium channels overactive, which are giving too many neurons, sending too many messages. This can cause multiple different things. Brain fog, it can cause you to hear voices, schizophrenia, dementia, and more. So much more. Read the studies and it'll elaborate. And back to elaborate more on the ROS free radicals. In that specific experiment, in the study that they did, they realized that a pre-treatment of melatonin completely negated the effects, which means every time you go to sleep and your pineal gland secretes that melatonin, that's a powerful antioxidant, and that literally reverses what free radicals do, which includes ROS free radicals. So that's why we need these antioxidants. And what are good antioxidants? Okay, coconut oil is a great antioxidant. You can Google antioxidants. There's so many antioxidants out there. CBD is such a good antioxidant that the government actually has a patent for antioxidants derived from CBD. You can look that up. I provide an amazing CBD that you cannot beat, that is absolutely changing lives, that I've used every single day, that my dogs use. It's amazing stuff. You want to check that out, link below. You really need to read this PDF for yourself, but I want to touch base on a few more things. Microwave syndrome is a term that the scientists have coined for hypersensitivity that you develop when you have too much of this going on. It literally causes you out of nowhere to have headaches, nausea. You'll just be hit with something. And you know, they even say if you go up to the ionizing radiation all the way up, you get flu-like symptoms, which means you absolutely get flu-like symptoms further down the line. That's what all these studies are proving and confirming.
Wide range of symptoms. The symptoms of acute radiation sickness would be just exactly like a terrible flu. A person would have a headache. They would feel very tired. They would have a little bit of a fever. They might have some vomiting at higher doses. All of this would be more severe and would come on more rapidly.
The biggest thing about all this radiation is it causes inflammation. And if you know anything about the medical world, inflammation is the #1 cause of disease. So interesting, this stuff that's been around since 1917, the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, this radiation that's been around since then that causes inflammation, it's been causing all of the disease that's around. It's exacerbating everything, all the chemicals in the food, the chemtrails in the sky, everything, all of the preservatives, all of the bad stuff, the tap water, all the chemicals in it, it's exacerbating it. And that's absolutely our issue that we have today. Okay, it's bad for you. You get it. I get it. We get it. How do we help ourselves? How do we stop this? Multiple things. The biggest and most important thing is shielding. There are studies that prove and that show that different metallic fabrics and different metals can absolutely provide an amazing shielding, okay? And you've learned in the video earlier that that doctor was wearing a silver-lined hat. We absolutely have those hats as well. They're on back order, but those hats absolutely work. You could just buy the material and make your own hat. The other thing you can do is buy the material, put it over your Wi-Fi router. If you're close to your Wi-Fi router, it won't cut down on the signal at all, but if you're farther away, it will cut down on the signal. But it'll basically completely stop the RF damaging waves from hurting you. The other thing you can do is get a big piece of that fabric, whatever fabric you choose, whether it's through us or anybody else. Ours guarantees works and you won't be wasting any of your time or money, so I always suggest you go through us. But if you buy a big blanket size piece of fabric and you incorporate it into a blanket or even just cover up with it, it'll allow your body to produce that melatonin at night without disruption from the EMF constantly. Our phones are always hitting you. Never sleep near your phones. Never sleep near your Wi-Fi. Shut it off at night if you can. Let your body recoup. Let your body recover. I sleep underneath a $2,500 silver canopy that my buddy gave me when I was having microwave sickness. And it was literally a godsend to have him come give me that. I've never given a friend a hug like I hugged him. It literally saved my life and got me into what I'm doing right now. So please, the most important thing you can do is read this PDF and make somebody else read it, because once you read it, then you know. You can go to the studies and check it for yourself. The other thing, go to vtvault.org/danger. Those are all my milestone videos that woke me up to this before all of this. I've known about it for a while. I thought it was kooky until I experienced it myself. Then it dove me into speaking out about it and getting products out to save the world. That's where I'm at with it. You go to vtvault.org/quantame, you got your shielding. vtvault.org/CBD, you have your antioxidant. The most powerful antioxidant will remove anxiety, help you sleep, help with inflammation. Marijuana plant, it's like not even from this planet. It's like an alien plant. I find it so interesting, so intriguing, and I just can't believe that there's so many medicinal effects for that. And not only is there CBD in this spectrum, there's everything besides THC. So you got CBG, THV, you look them up. They're everywhere. And inside of our CBD, we actually add the root, which has a whole nother set of amazing medicinal compounds, probably super antioxidants. We haven't even looked it up. We don't have time doing so many things like this. So if you want to support this information being out, if you want to save yourself and your family, check out my studies, check out my site. You can also follow me on Telegram at t.me/RF shielding and follow my experiments as I try different stones and different materials and see if we can find even better blocking materials. If they're not going to come out with these studies, then I'll come out with them, okay? I'm not a scientist, but I'm going to get to the bottom of this and record my endeavors, and I hope you follow me, and I hope you like what you see, and I hope we can learn together and save this planet. All love, and I'm here until I die. Love you guys.
The truth from the prophecy. I got loyalty, got royalty inside
This is
my
why
DNA.
I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years.
I never bet my DNA. This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting. Money and power, the Mecca emeritus. Tell me something, you motherfuckers can't tell me nothing. I'd rather die than to listen to you. My DNA not for imitation, your DNA an abomination. This how it is when you in the matrix, dodging bullets, reaping what you're sowing, stacking up the footage, living on the go and sleeping in the village.